So I'd like to welcome you here. I know we had a little bit of a mishap last week. Anything that could have happened to me happened, which is why I had to reschedule. But I was excited to that you reached out. So, Mr. Hunter, so tell us about yourself.
Well, I am Paul Lamar Hunter, born in the city of Racine, Wisconsin in 1970. I am the 19th child out of 21 natural children that my mom birthed by my dad. So my mom and dad was getting it on. You could say maybe 24 hours a day, but my dad had to work two jobs. So, but they were getting it on to have a lot of kids. So as of today, 17 of us living today, 63 amazing grandchildren and 87 great grandchildren. So I have a huge family, and do not mess with me or we will come to Washington, D.C. to get you.
I know that's right. I know that is right. So now, was your mom a stay-at-home mom or did she work as well?
My mom was not a stay-at-home mom. My mom used to work part-time. My dad was the breadwinner. My dad worked two jobs. He worked a first job at
And
Case
had
and then
21 kids when they
and had
found a job.
you got that. Hey. I think, since I'm older now, I think my dad was doing quickies to have all them kids.
Jobs, 21 kids. Okay, pops.
So, dad worked two jobs. And I guess he said, working 16 hours a day, when I get home, I'm gonna give me a quickie, go to sleep and do it all over again.
That's right. I know that's right, pops. I'm not even mad. So now, from what I saw about, we're going to touch on everything that you're doing now and all of the wonderful stuff that you have going on, but I kind of want to focus a little bit on your childhood and growing up and, that sort of thing. Like, what was life like? I know that it had to be hard, right? Like, to manage 21 children. Now, how many were in the house when you were born? Let's start there.
When I was born, all of us was in the house. At that time, it was 19 of us in the home, plus my mom and my dad. So it was all of us. And then there was one time it was all 21 of us in my mom and my dad. But let me touch on my childhood. I had the best 8 years of my life because mom was present and dad was present. But there was a crisis when I was 7 years old because I was faced with a tragedy. Now, my mom at that particular time, she was pregnant with the 14th child. They were living in a 2-bedroom house. The sheriff came one day, knocked on the door, told my mom and dad they had 72 hours to vacate because there was too many people living in the house. Mom and dad went to church. The pastor prayed with them. The next day, a miracle happened. Men came over to show my mom and dad an 18-bedroom house. My mom and dad did not have the dollar to pay this man. So the man went in his wallet, gave my mom that dollar to pay him for this 18-bedroom house. That's the house I was born in.
Okay.
That's the house I was born in.
Okay.
Fast forward, years later, my brother, Thomas, and I were sleeping. We had no idea that that house was engulfed in flames. I woke up and I saw the fireman holding me, and I'm screaming and yelling because I wanted mom and my dad. And so the fireman said that, hey, I don't think this young man is going to make it, referring to my brother Thomas. So my mother is so old fashioned. So she had a garbage can filled with sugar and a garbage can filled with flour. So the two firemen took us downstairs, empty out the contents, placed me and my brother inside, and ran through the fire. And once they ran through the fire, we end up exiting out of the home. They took us to the hospital. A couple of days later, my brother passed away. I survived. So that tragedy right there really shook me up because that brother Thomas, he and I was very, 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 very close. So as of today, when I hear sirens of the fire truck, or I can see smoke coming from a burning building or house, it would trigger the memory to come back of what happened when I was a child.
Yeah.
So after that tragedy, a year later, my father was killed in a car crash. So those two adversities back to back hurted the Hunter family. It really crushed us. But let me say this, it was good men and women from the church and also from the community that was coming over to the home to pray with us, to guide us, to give us structure, and to assist us. There was many times that we didn't have food in the house, but guess what? Unexpected people showed up at the door to give us a helping hand. And still to this day, I say all the time, I thank those people for giving us a helping hand when we were in need.
Wow, that's a lot. And you were like 7 and 8 years old. That's a lot for a kid to handle. So how did
Oh, most definitely.
yeah, so how did you, because I know that, I've had tragedy in my family. I lost my nephew when he was 19, and I know that it devastated the dynamics of my family when that happened. So how were you able to be able to push through that? Was it because of these, like, the other father figure men that were around you that kind of helped and guided you? Was it also your older siblings? Like, what got you through that
I
time?
think I think what really got me through was my faith in God, my older siblings, people in the community.
Yeah,
Um, I have to emphasize that having that faith in God can really help you overcome your circumstances. And as of today, I always tell people that you need to put your purpose above your circumstances. I
mm,
tell them that all the time. So I thank God for giving me this abundance of faith. I thank God for my siblings. I thank God for people in the community because they were role models. These people were inspiring me to do better, even though I grew up with a lot of bitterness and resentment and a lot of anger on the inside of me because I didn't have my father. I did not have my father.
yeah.
And that's the reason why it's so important that men really listen to this interview. That if you have a child out there, it is important for you to be involved in that child's life.
Absolutely. So with that happening back to back, how were you able to hold on to that faith with God, like, and not be angry at him, like, why did you do this? And what we do as humans when things happen, how were you able to forgive God for allowing this to happen in your life?
I think that I had to learn to let it go because if I didn't let it go, it was going to destroy me.
Mhm.
And I got with pastors, I got with friends, I got with some of my siblings, and it was tough. It was prayer. It was constantly, talking to men and women that had experienced the loss of their mother and loss of their father, and telling me, to take it one day at a time. And I was able to take it one day at a time. And then, but I was able to look at some of the mistakes that other people had made when they had lost a loved one. They went to find an escape mechanism
Yeah,
using drugs, using alcohol. That wasn't me. You understand? Because I had learned from their mistakes and I say, I can't do that. That's the reason why, as a 53-year-old man, I do not drink alcohol. I do not do drugs. The way I came in this world is the way that I'm leaving this world. So if anybody that had experienced a death in the family, you need some counseling. You need to get with a pastor. You need to get with someone, a mentor that's going to help you. Take it one day at a time, and I guarantee you it will get better.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm just in awe of you, to be able to go through something like that, and then to, which we're going to touch on, go to college, start businesses, do that stuff, where a lot of us, and I'm geared towards men specifically, right? So this is why I'm asking these kind of questions, is because I want men to understand life happens, right? Things happen, but we can't let it overshadow what we need to do. Like, we can't just dwell in that trauma. We can't dwell in that pain. And, we can't blame other people. We can't blame God. We have the ability, you have the ability to go ahead and do what you need to do, So, with that being said, just give me a little bit of what life was like, because I want to set the stage. Like I said, a lot of men watch me, right? So just a little bit of what life was like with now mom, who only worked part-time at one point. Now she's responsible for everybody's livelihood. Outside of the church, outside of the folks, what was the Hunter household like, in that dynamic?
When mom took over, it was a void, and that void was never replaced. And that void that I'm talking about is my father. And it was hard on my mother. My mother was not perfect. I tell people all the time, but she couldn't give what she didn't have. There's nothing like a father in the household, because he sets the tone, you know. And my father, he wasn't perfect at all, but he was a great man, and he set the tone for the Hunter family. So when mom took over, the structure was out of control. You understand? Some of my brothers were fighting for power. I'm the older brother. I should be able to tell you what to do, and
Yeah.
you should be listening to me. So when mom took over, it was out of control. But my brothers end up getting together, and we were able to listen to mom, and just take her guidance and her structure and just run with it. But you know, my mom wasn't perfect. No, there's no parent out there that is perfect. My mom grew up just like my dad grew up in Mississippi. They experienced hardship. They experienced the Jim Crow system. They experienced segregation, a lot of trauma, a lot of beat down. So my mom and dad was never perfect, but I can guarantee you this: they were the perfect people to come together. And my mom was so perfect that she birthed 21 natural children. No defects whatsoever, no physical disabilities
Mhm.
whatsoever. So it was difficult. And when a woman have a baby, and especially 21, and then you have to sit back and do the math and say 21 babies. Man, some people think it took 21 years. No, it did not take 21 years. It took 15 straight years for this woman to birth 21 children. Just imagine the mindset. It takes a lot of vision, it takes a lot of focus, it takes a lot of faith, it takes a lot of discipline to have all of those children. And then your mind wonder, how are you going to take care of these children? That was a lot of stress on my mother. That's why I tell people, and will continue to tell people, my mother was not perfect. She couldn't give what she didn't have.
That's right. That's right. That's just the way it is. And for her to have those many children back then, and everything is safe, all of you guys are healthy, and have all your facilities. Whereas nowadays, it's like a Black woman having a baby, you got one foot in the grave. They say, you know, like we're the highest rate to have complications during, you know, giving birth. So that's a blessing in itself, you know, that she was able to do that.